My name is Richard Casper. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, and I teach the course here at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. The program started basically because after my injuries in war, I didn't know how to deal with myself. I came back, had a brain injury, my best friend was shot and killed. I didn't know myself at that point. Art has helped me by giving me a chance to have a voice again. I used to not be able to leave my house. I couldn't go talk to people. I would physically throw up and get sick. If you could be 0%, that's committing suicide, 100% being the best you can be. After the Marine Corps, after being injured, I was at probably like a 9 or a 10. And after this school, I was back to like 85% me. For people who may struggle like I did and didn't want to break out of the house and be like, I'm not sure if this is going to work, I just want them to know my story and be able to come out here and learn with other combat vets how to do art. And if they're looking for one more way, if they just come out here and give me a chance, it's going to be worth it.
What we were aiming for is to express what we were dealing with, when we were deployed and during our military career, where we literally get out of our element, go on this kind of like alternate reality to go back in time, think about what we went through, and express it to other people.
Just being exposed to different concepts of art, like at the museum and some of the contemporary art we saw, that's what influenced me to try doing a performance piece for my last project.
The opportunity to be at the school was just phenomenal. It was amazing. At lunch, we could go and wander the halls of the museums, and that was pretty awesome.
I think the hardest part was actually talking about what I've been through. It was easy talking to Richard because he is a combat veteran and he has been through stuff I've been through. And
my job was to, go find IEDs or find landmines or anti-personnel landmines and take them apart. And little did I know, I was putting that stuff inside me.
At first, it's a little hard to let yourself become vulnerable. You won't really know what to do right away. It takes a couple days. I know for me, it took a week.
Being surrounded by a bunch of veterans that know what combat feels like, knows the after effects of combat, knows how it feels to come home. It was really comfortable being here.
They're gonna come to class like normal college students, treated like normal people that know how to be like, I can be in college, I am a normal person, and I could live like everybody else lives. If even one of them chose to go to college and study art and has that artist brain to where it saved them, it's totally worth it.
All right. Happy Monday. Streaming with CreatiVets. My name is Garrett Leo. If this is your first stream, real quick, thanks for auto-hosting us. If this is your first stream with us, like I said, my name is Garrett Leo. I'm the art director for CreatiVets. I'll be working on my graphic novel. So if anyone has any questions on graphic illustration, I'm going to be doing a little bit of editing today. Just quick update. Where I'm at as far as finishing this graphic novel. I have 6 pages left to ink for the last scene. What I'm doing today is I'm kind of refining and editing some old drawings. So I have talked about this before, that I started this graphic novel 5 years ago, give or take. So my drawing style has drastically changed. Some things I really like about my old style, some things I don't. So today's example is I didn't really use a lot of reference photos when I started inking before. So a lot of my drawings are very vague as far as what the scene looks like. So what I'm doing is I'm going back. This is the third scene of the graphic novel, where there's a wedding taking place, and you see the main protagonist is a server. So we're just kind of walking through this wedding. Well, the background is very bleak. The characters are pretty limited in their design. I'm not too worried about that. People understand that those are figures in the scene. What I am trying to do is these backgrounds where I primarily had, solid black or solid white with a little texture. What I'm doing is I'm going in and adding some more dimensions. So I added a filler page that is very grand. There's some close-ups on some people sitting at the wedding, and then you have this big stage of where the bride and groom are. or Brighton Group, yeah. So I have added this texture in the background, like this cloth wall. So like this draping fabric. So what I'm doing is I'm going in a couple of the frames that I already have done, right? This is from 5 years ago I drew this. And I'm adding in that draped fabric. So what I was doing before I started streaming was I drew the frame, I erased the background using my Presto whiteout. And now I'm going in and I'm adding some texture. So I'm going to kind of start shading this using some cross hatching. Real quick, as far as materials I'm using, again, if this is your first stream, I say this all the time, but I'm using the same stuff I do when I do graphic illustration. I will be using I've got two open, my India ink. I have my Micron pens, which is what I'll primarily be using for drawing. Great tool. You can get a set of 10 of these black. They also come in different colors, but I only work with black and white graphic novels. I will have my little ink brush, right? This fine point brush pen. I'll use that. And then this is a Bristol paper. So what I'm doing, there's a little drawing that I had. I'm cutting out parts that I don't like, right? I didn't like the background here because it was just a solid black wall. I want to add some more dimension. So I cut that out. I taped a new piece to the back. And you can see I already have a little sketch of what it's going to look like. You might be able to see into a different room, maybe the lobby. Yeah, so I'm just gonna get started on this. If anyone has any questions, I see we've got people hopping on and off on Facebook. If you are watching on Facebook, start a watch party, obviously, so that we can get some more people joining in here. But if you have any questions, I have the chat up. No matter where you're watching, if you have any questions or comments about what I'm doing, please feel free to comment, and I'll see it. That's it. I'm just gonna, like I said, right now what I'm doing is I'm doing some cross hatching. Cross hatching is when you make a lot of lines to add dimension. So I'm changing this white fabric and making it a little gray. All right, now I don't really do a lot of cross hatching now in my comic, like on the recent pages, but before, I like to say when I was first working on this graphic novel, I really didn't know what I was doing. I started this when I was in school at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. And I had a great teacher, Aaron, and he was kind of giving me a lot of resources as far as looking at different artists and like the techniques that they used. And what I tended to do was just kind of like mimic things that I saw. I actually have a graphic novel sitting on the floor over there because I tend to look at that because it's a great example of black and white comics. So when I was doing all this, I was really just experimenting, and like I am really proud of the work that I did. I'm extremely proud of the story that I wrote. But I understand that it can be better. Right now you can already see the difference from this side where there's just a couple lines. And then this side, right, it looks like maybe it's a gray fabric, or I want it ideally to be like a gold or a red tone. And obviously this is black and white, so I'm just suggesting that there's color. I'm using a really small micron. This is a 005, really fine point, because I don't want these to really stand out as lines, more as just shadows. And again, I could have left it white, but I felt like, you want to think about the balance of your page. I talk about that with just black and white. And like I said, right now, in the current pages, there really isn't a lot of shading going on of grays. It's just black and white. High contrast. But that's one of the things that I've been deciding between is, when I decided to start this back up and I said, I want to finish this graphic novel. I think it's a good story. I'm proud of the work that I've done on it. I want to get this out so people can see it and enjoy it. One thing I had to decide was, am I redrawing everything or am I keeping my old art? And for the most part, I've kept a lot of my old art, right? The original drawings, because I want to, respect my past self and the hard work that I put into it. So I've been picking and choosing what to take out. And really, a lot of it stays, like this page. I'm not really going to do much except for the background here, but the rest is fine. It's my old drawing style is very cartoony. I like to think my new drawing style, or not really new, just like my now more developed drawing style is, what am I looking for? It's a good blend of cartoony and realistic. So, and it might look like I'm just going like this. I'm not. I'm actually just making one line at a time. Just a lot of them grouped together makes areas darker. Make the edges a little darker. And cross hatching is when you go the opposite directions, right? So I went this way all the way across, and now I'm going this way to create that X, so that on the sides it's darker, right? Because I want the highlight to be in the middle, those figures. So I won't cross hatch the whole thing. But part of it I will. And you can't tell, but the bottom of this page right here is all white out. I white out the whole background. So now, looking at that frame, right, it's a little bit more advanced. And that's really all I'm doing is, I'm keeping my old style of drawing. I'm just bringing it to the same quality of drawing that I do now. And I'll show you an example out of my 50 page. Ooh, just shook. Don't do that. There we go. Mr. 2 sent me some sparks. Thank you. Appreciate it. So for example, right, this is another scene that I did. It's a bar scene. I took this and I'm mimicking the way I used to draw, just refining it a little bit. And what I did in this bar scene, right, here's my original art 5 years ago. Pretty simple, straightforward, not a lot of background detail. I took a whole page to just define all these little moments inside the bar. Right, those empty picture frames are an Easter egg. I'll talk about those when I do that later. But yeah, so just taking my old art and being respectful to it in the sense that when I add new pages, sometimes, I feel like my original writing was just too short. So I wanna lengthen it. I wanna draw it out so that it's a more developed graphic novel. Those pages that I'm adding now, like brand new stuff, I'm just taking the old style of my drawing and just drawing it a little cleaner. So they're still very cartoony compared to my new stuff, but it looks like it's just a little bit more refined. Okay, so that's done. I like that. That's all right. So now that's a really close-up shot. I feel like in the other scenes I'm not going to get that detailed. So we'll do a 3. And I'm going to put these lights there. Switch to we'll do a 5, an 05. All right. So I'm going to work on this new background that I did. The first thing that I do is just outline the fabric. Now here, I'll stop. I'll switch to that 03 again. I've put 3 figures here. Let me move. There we go. I forgot to adjust my lights. I put three figures here, and I'm gonna check the uniform that they're wearing. Alright, so I'm just adding some more details to the background. Check in the uniform. Alright, so that looks good. I got a character there. I'm going to switch to a smaller. I'm going to go to a 1. Just because I'm really detailed here. Again, not getting super detailed because my current drawings are not super detailed. Talk a lot about continuity, just making sure that it makes sense. It looks like it's developing together. So you got buttons, he's got buttons. You also have some overalls. Alright, just kind of standing, I'll show a close-up of it. Alright, just drawing those figures. And that was the other thing I noticed is a lot of my backgrounds on the my original art are just very bland. They're not very full. A lot of the rooms look empty. So what I'm doing is just kind of filling that space. So it looks a little bit more developed, right? I didn't think about the background. I just drew the tables because I struggled drawing the tables in perspective. So now I'm adding these figures back here to fill that negative space. And then I'll add this little room over here. And then the basic steps, again, when you're doing any type of inking, I like to draw just like an outline of things first and then go in and add the rest of your details. I'll draw a big guy. I'll have a little curly here. Maybe we'll do a mustache too. I'm just having a little fun with it. His straps are a little bent. Put his bow tie on. There we go. Alright, switch to a higher one, a thicker line weight. Add that color to his little uniform piece. Boom. Alright, so now, right, that negative space that was there before, excuse me, it's full. Right, we've got those figures standing in the background. So I'm going to work on this little room. I think I was using the 3 for the fabric. I'll add the rest of the fabric first. Right, and again, what I'm doing is I'm just trying to elevate my old drawings. I'll use a 5. Can't really see it. There we go. 5 here. Okay. Boom, right? So now I've got a little fabric background so people know where things are a little bit better. Switch the texture up. Okay. Alright, so I've got the generic shapes there. I'm going to switch to a 003. It's smaller than that. Look how tiny that is. You can't see it. It's not focusing. It's all good. And I'm going to do what I did before. I'm just going to add on the bottom side of the lines some hatching. Just to create some dimension, right? You think it's when I add these lines, I'm actually defining the curves of the fabric. Without them, the fabric just looks like flat lines on the wall. With them, it has a little dimension. And like this fabric, right, got really intense. We're gonna leave that one like that. Here, I'm just gonna add a little bit. Because if I went that crazy, I've got so many other details, it'll start to blur things. So just going over the whole thing, just making little tiny hatches. And again, not on the top and bottom of the lines. I want these to be the shadow, right? It's the darker areas. So when I say that, I mean on the line right here, I'm going below it for the shadows. I can go in there and add just some lines to suggest some more folds. Looking pretty good. Another thing I got to be careful of is, you know, I'm touching this and I'm smearing the ink from before, but again, just take your time, throwing in some more horizontal lines, going with the shape of the fabric. Just add some, you know, additional texture. Just like that. That's just enough to add some more dimension to the background, right? It's not super detailed like my new drawings would be, right? So it's staying consistent with my drawing styles. Boom. Now we've got some fabric looking walls. Sorry about my squeaky chair. Looking great. Love the overlay. Yep. Thank you. Right? There it is. Boom, right there. So again, originally that scene just had a black background. There was really nothing there. So now I'm just, again, defining what the environment looks like. That's something that I struggled to accomplish before. Oh, I gotta... Kyle's texting me. He has questions. Kyle, ask your questions. I can talk about both. So again, something that I struggled with before was environment, and that's something that I honestly, I think the best way to get better at environment is using reference photos. And I was very stubborn as a student, and I wanted to do everything myself and just say, I don't need reference photos. I can just draw. I can just create a thing. The problem is when you don't use reference photos, at least for me, you don't get the same quality of environment, right? Again, deciding if you're looking in this scene, where is that person in relation to the room? I'm really good at doing that now. And I could show an example of like just knowing where people are. So let's see. Right, so in this diner scene, you got him. I mean, you're looking at these windows, the proportion of the fabric to the windows, and then you see this character waving. You know that he's at the 1, 2, 3 window, so he's sitting right here, right? So you can actually count and look at the environment. And then when he's coming in, you know that he's walking down a long hallway. So when you look at this, right, you know that he walked in here and he's walking this direction. So again, that's just a small thing of just understanding where the environment is. I'm waiting for Kyle's question. Kyle had questions. He's not answering. But yeah, that's my thought. All right, I'm gonna do this little tiny drawing. I'm sorry, I've got this overhead camera. It does a pretty good job, but I'm working with really small details today. So if you are watching and you're like, can you please just say hold it up so I can see the little details? I will do that. All right, I'm gonna use the 005 second smallest pen size I have. For these little details, and I think I had nothing crazy in here. I've got like a coat check. Or maybe it's like a bar. It'd be pretty cool to have a bar there. Right, I'm not too worried on. Yeah, I'll make it a bar. Throw some bottles on it. Open bar wedding. So we got 2 bottles on there, pretty big bottles. We'll do some more fabric. That's the theme of the wedding. Right. Boom. Kyle says, I'm working, but I'll take a break. All right, here we go. Kyle asked, when working on different types of art, do you do anything to get yourself in the right mindset for the piece you'll be working with? Yeah, actually. I think a lot of it is music. You don't really get to, as the viewers of these streams, don't get to experience my playlists. But I think music is the big one for me, getting me in the right mindset. I talk about in general when I'm going to do a project. If I'm not feeling motivated to do it, I don't force myself to do it, because if I force myself to do it, I know I won't create the quality that I want. For these, I tend to listen to... when I started, I listened to a lot of Dean Martin, Rat Pack, Frank Sinatra music to kind of get me in the mood of the overall story, because it is about a singer. But as working on it now, I just listen to like any song that reminds me of like a mobster movie. Really, honestly, that's what it is, because the story is about the mafia. So I listen to a lot of soundtracks from like the Goodfellas and movies like that. Something that I also do, like a podcast, Zachary would make fun of me right now, is I do put on like TV shows sometimes that kind of emulate the like style of storytelling that I like. So it is known that I'm a huge Sopranos fan. So I've watched The Sopranos 3 times through, like the entire series. And the last one was really honest. I just have it on in the background and listen to dialogue. So having that dialogue come in helps me create the imagery that I would want. So that is a little way for, at least for this, I listen to like Italian music. I listen to a lot of soundtracks. One of my favorite composers for just any type of art making is listening to Hans Zimmer. So I listen to him and that gets me pretty motivated to just make art. But then, yeah, I listen to like mobster movies. I'll put them on, or on YouTube you can find like hour-long like old black and white mobster movies. I put those on. Again, just listening to dialogue. For me, that's something that I struggle with, just like writing coherent dialogue that makes sense and isn't cheesy. So listening to people talk in similar settings helps me a lot. But then like for ceramics or for different things, again, it's really just music. And it's all about like my favorite types of music I listen to. See, look at that. Immediately I couldn't talk because I was drawing. Crazy. But yeah, it's just the types of music. If I'm feeling pretty energetic, I'll put some more like heavy music on to kind of keep the energy up. But most of the time it's either dialogue from shows or movies to kind of keep me thinking straight, or it's more like classical, like soundtracks. That's it. If that answered your question. Now here I'm just winging it on these drawings. Uh-oh. I'm curious, anyone that's watching that is an artist, what do you usually listen to? That's a good question. Or what do you do to get you in the right creative mind? Again, for me, it's just kind of doing it. Put on the music that you like to listen to. Put on a podcast. Anything to kind of get the creative energies flowing. So put double doors there. Put some flowers on the door. Yeah. That's in theme with the wedding. I'll make that back wall black. Fun fact, because Kyle was trying to make fun of my t-shirt. Nine Inch Nails is one of my favorite bands. I think Trent Reznor is a genius when it comes to songwriting as well as just composing. He composed quite a few. If you didn't know, the Halloween soundtrack of the most recent Halloween movie was Trent Reznor and some other dude, but I only know Trent Reznor. and it was awesome. So I do listen to Nine Inch Nails quite a bit. Boom. Okay, and I'm going to take a little white out. White out that little spot. Take my 003 and add some more. Some texture. This is farther away. There's some more shadows in there, so I'm making it pretty heavy on the texture. And then out here, it's not so heavy. But yeah, love Nine Inch Nails. Fun fact. But yeah, so that looks a little bit more developed, right? Super simple changes that I see now that I did not see then. So let's do that again here. I've got this, and again, continuity is important. So these three figures I highlight when he serves the food, and I did this intense background. So going here, it's the same table. I need to do the background the same. So I'm going to use we'll use an 03 to get started. I left a little bit of cross hatching. It's all good. You're not really going to see a lot of this anyways. Okay. Right? Just start simply with those lines. And now I'll go in with I'm going to use the 003 again. I'm going to add some lines that go along with the fabric to suggest some folds. Pretty sporadic. And now I'm going to add my hatching. And again, I am a righty, so I'm going to start on the left and work my way to the right. And as I'm doing this, I don't really like the super hatched version that I did originally. I kind of like it being more white, not as gray. I think it matches the style better, so I'm going to do this a little bit lighter than before. And then we'll see if I need to redo my redo. And that's all good too. Sometimes I make changes and I think they're good, and then I look back and I'm like, I redo it. All part of the process. And again, this is just adding more dimension. And continuity. Ooh, all right. A lot of comments. Got Lava Slug giving me some sparks. Thank you. Love the channel. Right on. Thank you. We appreciate it. Do you like when I hatch? Do I do traditional cross or just diagonals? It depends. So, like I said, and that's, I mean, all these techniques of hatching are all traditional, I guess, in the sense. When I cross hatch, like this is from 5 years ago, there's no movement at all, right? You can see it's just straight up left, right. This one I did today, I actually hatched traditionally back and forth, and I created these shadows. Right here you could just see the ones going up and down, but then these darker areas is when I've gone left and right. So I kind of switch it up. I don't like I said, I don't like in my comics now. This comic being what I'm talking about, because I'm still finishing it. I don't really use a lot of cross hatching because I don't really use a lot of gray. I just either decide black or white. But to keep the style the same, right? When I first drew this, I used hatching and I was just experimenting with a bunch of different techniques because I was learning. As I'm adding and embellishing it, I'm just trying to do it a little bit better. So, yeah, crosshatch. So you can do, the crosshatch is a use of hatching. Hatching is just the straight lines. So when you crosshatch it, you can cross them, and again, that just makes gray areas. So, like this is pretty neutral, this area. But what I'll do is I'll go in and I'll do it, and I'll crosshatch some of the areas. Right, I'm going to use that technique a little sparingly because that is what's going to add the darkness. And I'm going to keep it towards the edges. So I'm not going to crosshatch every single one the same. But on the edges I am going to crosshatch so that it can be a little darker. Right, and then the focus is in the middle. So this area behind the guys, right, there's more shadows there. I'm going to crosshatch that. Just toss in a couple here. Right, nothing crazy. Gives it depth. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, when you're using, when you're doing black and white and not grayscale comics, if I was doing grayscale, I could go in here with like some watercolor or just watered down ink, and I could add gray to areas and add definition. I don't really like that. I don't prefer that. I actually really like black and white comics. So if you're interested, here's one that I use a lot. It's called West Coast Blues. This is a fantastic artist. And I like to look through here because he is a magician when it comes to just straight up black and white. He does do some cross hatching occasionally, but most of the time it's just a balance of black and white. This is like the holy grail for me, as far as like if I can't figure out how to do a texture, I'll kind of find it in there and then try to replicate what he does. So, yeah, graphite. Only use graphite. Yeah, that's the traditional way to do it, all the graphite. I highly encourage ink. I think it's really fun. What I am going to do, I noticed as I'm talking and looking at this, I don't think these lines are thick enough for the actual fabric folds. So I'm going to go back in there and make those a little thicker. I feel like just ink looks nicer. That's why I'm drawn to ink. Is just it's the high contrast of it is really good. Boom. Okay. I'm also going to take my graphic pen. This is the largest size that I have. I'm going to redefine the edges of this thought box. Just like this, so that it stands out. Okay. All right. So just what I'm doing is I'm just looking at this scene, and I'm just gonna kind of review it and make sure that it's up to par. Like I said, this is original art. Didn't change any of it. Thought it was solid. Next page would be this page. I think with that addition of the background, I think again it just adds a little bit more dimension, creates a stronger environment. What I'll do, actually I will do this. I'm going to take my 003 and add some texture to these tables. Subtle. But again, that little change makes a big difference as far as developing. Well, you can't see what I'm doing. I'm just adding little tiny scribbles. That just takes it to the next level. texture. I realize my new art is very textured. All right, that's good though. So when it's a closer up table, you can see a little scribble. When it's farther away, I'm doing more dots. And what this is doing is suggesting what is the tablecloth made out of. Before, it's just all these ambiguous shapes and objects. I wasn't really considering, well, what is it made out of? How do I capture that that feeling? Now I know how to do it. And I'll show you. I can't really show you my wall because I got my camera tape, but on my wall, I draw a lot of portraits, and I experiment with different hair textures, different clothing textures, different skin textures, and it's really come in handy because when I see a character and I'm like, well, how do I make this character stand out? How do I make them different from everyone else? I just look at the wall of all the drawings that I've done. I'm like, wow, there we go. I can use that. Let me see if I can do it. So highly recommend if you are you've got the space to do it, hang up your art so you can see it. Okay, this one looks good. I don't really like all of this cross hatching, so I'm going to go in. This is one of my favorite tools, this little pen. But I'm going in and just kind of erase some of that hatching. I just don't think it needs that much. Right. Take my graphic. Oh, you didn't even see what I did. I just erased some of it. Redefine his hair. Looks good. That'll look good when I scan it. Alright, so now I'm just going to put it back in order. Now, 3:48. We got a little bit more time. We'll keep going. These two stay together. This is the page that I added. This is the reason why I had to redo a lot of stuff. Because I added this highly embellished page. So I've got 1, 2, 3. I've got 4 couples that I just kind of close up on, and then I'm showing off not a lot of the table, but the essence of the table. So I've got some glasses. I've got this. I had this decorative middle piece to the tables, which kind of looks like a cloud. That was my easy way of doing a bouquet of flowers. So I'm gonna stick with that again, keeping not redoing too much, kind of keeping true to what I initially drawn. But I was inspired by, again, I didn't do a good job of capturing the crowdedness of this wedding. Right, it looks pretty sporadic, but I wanted this to be a grand wedding. So that's why I added all the cloth, the fabric. These people at the tables look pretty spread out, so I wanted to kind of congest it a little bit. So I'm drawing these really close up portraits, and then a little bit in the background of all of them, you see different people that are there, right? To suggest that it's a big wedding, right? And then I've got this very grand stage that is also in the room, suggested that it is like behind the viewer, right? They're viewing it the whole time, but this is the couple cheersing with the singer, and then this is the couple here. So just taking this little tiny view that is original and then expanding it to the entire ensemble of who is at the table. That's what I'm doing, right? Put that there. And now we'll ink it. And I already used my graphic size pen, and I traced the boxes. Now I'll just go in and I'll ink these little portraits. That's where we're at. I might actually get some water in a second. Oh, Phone's going off. Hold on 1 second. Boom, we got a sign. Looks pretty good. Yeah, buddy. All right. So I'll start with a 05. These are pretty close. I'll work left to right. So the first thing, again, is I'll do the outline. So I'll outline the hair. I got some scary looking couples. Right? So just start off with an outline of the figure, staying true to the sketch. Now I switch to a smaller size because this woman has this pearl necklace. All right. Back to the 05. Drawing the dress. Add some texture to the dress. I'm going to switch to the 08 if I can find it. Yep. She has this glass in front of her, so I'm going to draw the glass. And again, switching your line weight. Things that are closer to you have a thicker line weight. Things that are farther away have a thinner one. Switch back to the 05. Add the liquid. Some little bubbles in it. Add the reflection from the glass. Right. Right. I'll use my 08 and I'll do some hair texture. That was something that I immediately saw the difference between was my ability to do texture on hair before. I understood what they were doing, I just didn't know how to do it well. So now that was something that I did on a lot of my old drawings, was I would just white out the hair and then redo it, because now I know how to make it look super clean and elegant. Right? It looks super smooth and shiny. And again, that kind of contrasts my overall like drawing style. Is like really textured and dirty. And then a lot of these figures have like really crisp, clean looking hair. I think I'm out of the camera. I am almost out of the camera. Right? Now, I don't go in there and draw every individual strand. I just kind of suggest it with this texture. Get a close up. Boom. Just like that. Right? So the lady's done. I'll give her some freckles. Boom. Done. Alright, we'll move on to the gentleman. Or actually, I will do the chair. Because the chair is solid black. So I use my brush. I don't like that ink. So we're gonna close that one. Switch back to the old one. There we go. Right, so now that black chair is behind her. And just switch back and forth. I'll draw this. Oh, is this dry? Maybe. I think it's, we'll go with that for a little bit. Give this guy some curly textured hair. He's got some shades on. Boom. Again, just doing the outline first. There's that couple. I think maybe I'll finish this one and then call it for the day. Again, if any of you are looking to see more of our streams, if you're new, check it out at creativets.org/live, and you can see our schedule for the week. I am going to take advantage of this weather and go outside for a bit today. So like I said, I'm going to finish up this frame and then go do that. Lava Slug said, thanks for the stream, of course. Happy to be able to stream today. I think I'll give this guy a pinstripe suit. That seems fitting. Or no, I was gonna do like a hatch suit. I'll do that. Alright, so I gave him a little textured suit. I'll do his hair now. So he'll have a lot of curls. Boom, just like that. Now he's got some curly textured wavy hair. Switch to an 03, give him a little mustache. Give him some creepy teeth. Alright, that looks pretty good. Alright, so couple's done. Boom. I'll do the background. And on the way background, I will use a... use an O2 if I can find my O2. I'm going to outline these pieces of fabric, just like in the other frame. I'm being careful because I've got some other figures back there that I wanted to draw. Boom. Now there's some background noise. Okay. I'll keep the O2 and I'll draw some people. Almost forgot his chair. I think this one is out. what I'm doing now is I'm just coloring in these, or just doodling really, these figures in the background. Boom. Alright, so I'm going to take my 003, if I can find it, there it is, and add some hatching. On the fabric in the background. Now this is super small hatching. And I'm just going to do the one direction, not cross hatching, but just hatching. Just to add some dimension and some texture to the floor. Boom. I'm going to color his chair, because I forgot to color his chair black. Boom. And oh, not boom, not yet. He's got a plate on his table. There. Now that frame is done, right? And it still matches the overall style of these other frames, just again taking it up a notch. They're pretty cartoony, but they're still pretty detailed, so that they kind of bring it to the next level. So that's it. I'm gonna stop there because this is enough for another hour or two of work. Like I said, I'm going to go for a walk through the neighborhood. Let me pull up the schedule so people can see what's going on this week if they're curious. Let's switch it. Here we go. Right here. Boom. Let's put my face on there with face. Boom. There I am. All right. So creativets.org/live. Scroll down here. Today, the 8th, is me working on some illustration and talking through my process. But let's see. What's the 10th? See, the 10th is Wednesday. I'll be going again. I know something that's not on the schedule, but we did confirm is we'll have some songwriting tomorrow at 3 p.m. I think Kyle is gonna update the website with that. So imagine there is a 6/9/20 right here for songwriting, and then I'll be back Wednesday doing some more illustration. This is gonna be a project I'm working on for a while, and then again Thursday we'll have some songwriting, and then. Or no, Friday we'll have songwriting. This is Thursday. Mrs. OEF will be doing some wood burning. That'll be exciting. Right? Hold on. There we go. So we'll be doing some wood burning on, I believe, butcher blocks. So tune in for that. It's pretty exciting. So that's a little bit of the process for graphic novel design. Again, just kind of went over some just refinement. You know, it's always good to look back at your art and see how you can take it to the next step, but, you know, also respecting what you've drawn in the past and staying true to it. So thank you for all that, for all of you that joined today. That is it. I will see you all on Wednesday. Adios.
We are a nonprofit that's helping combat disabled veterans heal through the arts and music. Our art programs in Chicago and California help combat disabled veterans tell their story through art. We enroll them into the best art institutes in the country. We pay for their tuition, their housing, their food all 3 weeks so that they can finally tell their story through art. We also bring combat disabled veterans to Nashville, to places and rooms like this here at the Grand Ole Opry, to tell their story for the first time with pro songwriters all about the things that they went through that they've never been able to talk about before. These programs have been extremely successful in helping veterans combat their PTSD. Right now, CreatiVets has more veterans applying for our programs than we do funding. So if you can go to creativets.org and donate, we would appreciate it.